Good evening, local wars. Having problems. Let me get my intro. Here we go. Good evening, local wars, and all of my local warriors. So I'm taking some notes. I'm going to try to remember to look at the camera more so that I'm talking to you. I usually listen to my YouTube videos when I'm working in heavy equipment, and so I usually listen to it like it's a radio. So I guess sometimes when I'm on camera, it's just a little bit harder. I'm used to being on the other side of the camera, not used to being on this side. So, how is everybody doing tonight? It's Friday. Friday, Friday. I hope everybody can hear me. Um, I'm just waiting to find out that you can hear me or not. Asked a couple of friends. I don't know. Nobody's on live right now with me watching. So, otherwise, I would just ask the chat. But baby steps. We're just starting here at Local Wars. And just like any other business that you start, you got to start somewhere. There's kind of this little quiet space, but, eventually, hopefully, this will take off and the message will get out. As I've said before, we're starting more with my local government here because it's my personal story. It's a story that, in my opinion, needs to be shared and will expand as we keep going. So, you know, if you're part of the replay crew and you're coming and watching these videos because you've watched videos in future self, then this is where you go to find out. Where you go to find out all things scenic pit related. You come back to these videos, and this is where I expose how my local government here in Richfield has tried to completely destroy my life, my reputation, my sense of community, my business. It almost feels like in every capacity, really. You know, you can't win on an issue, attack the person, right? How many times have we heard that? How many times do we see that? So I never really know where to start when I first start. So I just kind of um, wing it, for lack of a better word. So I really hope that people can hear me. Let me check with my mom real quick. She's always, my kids call her Mimi. Just going to send her a little text. Okay. I don't like the angle I'm at today, but that's okay. Hopefully you all can hear me and everything's good. Okay. So last night I went to the board meeting. I wasn't going to go. Um, it's sort of one of those things that I really want to get certain things on the record, but then it's having to walk into a room of people who just already don't believe you. And oh, good. My mom said she can hear me. Thanks. Thank you, mom. And so I went last night and I shared it in a short little live after the hearing. Um, but I'll just share it with my audience tonight. So I went to the board meeting last night and I decided there was nothing on the agenda that I wanted to speak on. Um, but there's one item that's always on the agenda that I'd always want to speak on, and that's public comments. And as you saw in a recent video that I posted about that showed one of the board meetings from back in 2015, you can see that our local government is really squelching citizen input, and they're doing content based um, what's the word I'm looking for? Squelch, squelching, content base, wanting to censor. There's the word. And content based censorship doesn't belong in our government, in our system of justice, in our way of life as Americans. We have a right to speak our minds, and the government does not have the right to control the content of what we say. It's our First Amendment. It's our First Amendment, and that's a serious thing that needs to be respected. The founding fathers didn't just give us the freedom to speak for no reason. When you go back in history, that's how governments control their people. Shut them up, harass them, intimidate them, don't criticize them. And that's what a public forum is meant to do. You can praise them, you can criticize them, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, I went there and I started with that. And can you believe it? It's a small victory. We had a win, local warriors. We had a small little win because they let me speak. They let me speak for the full 3 minutes. I've tried this before where I just talk about public comments section and they're like, "That's not technically on the agenda," and but last night they just let me do it. And then I went on to explain to them what our episode was about yesterday, and I just reminded them of the truth and where they could go and find the rest of the story since not one board member has reached out to me. They apparently just think that I guess they successfully, in some regards, have been able to silence me through attacking my character in the community. And all the things that have happened, you look back at, if you go and listen to the episode with my mom, it's unbelievable. I lived it and I found it hard to believe. I was just thinking today I should probably like make little clips to show like little sound bites like of Paul Craig when he says in that voice recording to Jim, "I just wanted to hear your spin on it. I just want to hear your spin on it. What's your spin, Jim Healy? What's your what's your spin on how to deal with this lady? To deal with her. When is our special meeting?" So I'll work on getting something put together. My daughter told me, "Hey mom, you should make like funny little TikTok videos." So I guess I can't disagree, right? She's younger generation, they know more about this kind of stuff. Excuse me. So, kind of going off the back of last night's video. Oh, see right there? I learned how to use my little scrolling feature. So, for the replay crew and those that are live, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Remember to hit that like button and share this video to get the message out. I also put hashtags Justice for Karen Reed and Justice for John O'Keefe, just to go on a little few minutes about that. If you haven't followed the Karen Reed case, I challenge you to do so. Melanie Little covers it. Emily D. Baker covers it. The Glarer, Turtle Boy. If you want to see how out of control your local government can get with their power, it's a prime example. And they're trying to get this woman on murder charges. But the ACLU just filed an amicus brief, and that's pretty exciting. They filed an amicus brief on the position of Karen Reed because the jury unanimously acquitted her of the first and third charge. They were only hung on the second charge. But because there wasn't a checkbox, all this crazy stuff, I don't know. It's worth looking into, but I warn you, you're going to go down a deep, deep rabbit hole. A deep rabbit hole. But just to raise more awareness for it, I put the hashtags there. Um, The FBI got involved. They've exposed a lot of the corruption, and it's just it's wild, guys. It's wild. So it's sort of like if you like binge watching things like Netflix or something, you could go down a really big rabbit hole with this. In fact, I think there's are they on Dateline? I think the Karen Reed story might be on Date. I think they did a 2020, and I think either tonight or tomorrow it's Dateline. I'll have to double check that. But tonight we're going to be right here at home in the village of Richfield. We're going to continue to uh, pick away at all the moving parts so that maybe someone in the community sees beyond just this narrative that the local government has tried to sell them. Thank you, Courtney. She texted me back. Thank you. You can hear me too. Good. So I thought of all these different ways to like tie things in but guys, it's just such a mm. So I did a little slide and let's see if we can't just follow that and I'll do my best to stay on task. So we've talked a lot about Jim Healy, our village administrator, chief of police, zoning administrator. How many hats does he wear? I think last night we went over how he's a detective. He's a detective. Detective police chief, Jim Healy. But as Jim Healy himself tells me, and other people tell me at Village Hall all the time, Jim Healy isn't the person who's directing all of this. He constantly says, "You take it out on me." But it's the village president who directs me what to do. Oh, well, I'm not so sure. I think a lot of it is coming from Jim Healy, but let's just go with his theory. Let's go with his theory that he's just the mouthpiece of the village president. And what kind of can of worms does that open? What kind of can of worms does it open up when we start looking at our village president, John Jeffords? Well, I'm going to start off with a little bit of an intro, an introduction to who John Jeffords is. John Jeffords was a controller. He's retired now, from what I understand. He may or may not still do stuff on the side. I don't know. But for almost 40 years, he was the controller for a sister group of companies that is part of a large road construction company here in Wisconsin. Now, you're going to hear who the name of that company is. And I just want to be the first to say that I am not attacking Payne and Dolan. That's the company that he's associated with. I think in the later years of his career, it was Zenith Tech, but still part of Payne and Dolan. So is Timberstone, which is a subdivision in the village of Richfield that was an abandoned quarry that was redeveloped by Payne and Dolan. So just in case you didn't hear what I said, because I said it kind of quickly, I want to reiterate what I just said. Our village president was the controller, which is a high ranking position for the company that redeveloped an abandoned quarry in Richfield and put about a 100 home subdivision. I don't know how many homes exactly. I heard a rumor that they were given a special um, exception to put more lots than what our ordinances allow. So we're going to go through that. So who is behind Jim Healy? Let's go right. Uh-oh. Forgot to save it so I can share it. I don't even know. Untitled 3, sure. Okay. See if they show up. Phew. I got it. Okay, let's see how this goes. So that was a thumbnail for tonight. And I just put it on there because I wanted to talk a little bit about it. Richfield president is a fox in the henhouse. Who's behind Jim Healy? And I say a fox in the henhouse for a couple of reasons. I'm a female business owner, a woman business owner, so it just seemed fitting. It also relates to chickens, so there's that. Um, let's go to the next slide. So that's John Jeffords, that's his picture. The next picture I have is of John Macy. John Macy is our village attorney. He is with the Municipal Law and Litigation Group. And what's interesting, and I just want everybody to understand, is that it wasn't until Timberstone came to the village of Richfield that Timberstone was developed that Macy really even came into the picture. And John Jeffords was a board member at the time that Timberstone uh, fiasco. I don't know. I don't know what else to call it. I have nothing against Timberstone. I do have a problem with our village attorney and our village president, who was then just a board member. I do have a problem with the fact that it's okay for Payne and Dolan to restore a pit and put a subdivision in. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Why is it such a problem for me? So here it says Municipal Law and Litigation Group is a full service law firm with an exclusive focus on municipal law, municipal litigation defense, and appellate practice. I don't know how I get rid of this little slide bar thing. While providing the flexibility, personal responsiveness, and efficiency of a small firm. Guys, do you have friends, family uh, in Wisconsin? This is the first slide of places that they represent. So our representation as general counsel includes the following. Look at all those places. Addison, Ashapun, Belgium, Cudahy, Town of Eagle, Town of Erin, Village of Fox Point, Town of Genesee, Town of Jackson, Lisbon, Lamira, the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Mutual Insurance, McGuanago, North Prairie, Nashotah, Oconomowoc, Pewaukee, Pleasant Prairie. This goes on and on. Watoma, Village of North Bay, Wind Point, Westfield. Well, let's keep going. Look at that. Special counsel. Look at us. City of Adams, Brown County, Village of Brown Deer, Campbellsport, Cedarburg, Shaniqua, Town of Hartford, Town of Kewaskum. These guys are throughout our communities here in Southeast Wisconsin. I'm going to show you why that's problematic. So here's when Timberstone subdivision came and was being developed. There's the former gravel pit, an abandoned quarry at the time, and it says Payne and Dolan Incorporated of Waukesha is developing a 289-acre subdivision south of Hubertus Road in the town of Richfield that will encompass an abandoned sand and gravel mine. A subsidiary, Timberstone of Richfield Inc., will sell 100 lots that will range in size from 1.25 to 2 acres. New life for pit, guys. Dana Zulik and the scenic pit's gonna contaminate the community. We're gonna, contaminate the groundwater. There's citizen groups being formed. Rad, Richfield Residents Against Dump, they were formed. We did that in a whole nother episode. They were formed to stop clean fill from being dumping along Willow Creek and Scenic Road. Because that's all they care about. But you're gonna find out that tonight, you're gonna find out tonight that a while back, when Timberstone was being redeveloped, There was some contaminated waste that was accepted. It's no longer there. It was cleaned. It was cleaned out. But where it went may shock everybody here. Won't shock the board, they've been told. It won't shock John Jeffords and John Macy because they know. They know the truth. But what absolutely outrages me is the simple fact that they're directly involved with the exact type of thing that I'm trying to do. Where's the outroar? Where's the crying? Where's the pitchforks and torches for them? Well, there isn't. So, and you can see down here it says source Payne and Dolan. Okay. So let's start with John Macy. Let's go into what he's been up to recently here in Wisconsin. I want to make this bigger so you guys can see it better. Okay. Look at this, guys. I had the honor of actually speaking with her, um, with this woman who, um, her name is Erica Brewer, and something happened to her. And like me, she wasn't okay with it. So she went to the Institute for Justice and she held her local government accountable. Well, as you heard earlier, one of the names that I listed, you may not have caught it, but it's the town of Eagle. So this is the Institute for Justice website, and this is an article. It says small Wisconsin town weaponizes code enforcement to enrich a private law firm and target its critics. This is a huge law firm, guys. This isn't like these people get it done and they're there. They're a nonprofit, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But they're there to stop local governments when they're out of control. And how lucky am I now that I've had time to kind of, as Courtney said yesterday, kind of start healing and moving forward. And I have this now. And it makes me feel validated because I'm not the only person that this happens to. John Macy's firm has a culture. It's a culture of intimidating anybody who wants to exercise their First Amendment when they call them out, when they criticize them. Getting silly with the agenda packets, not letting people speak during comments, retaliating with enforcement. Let's just read the article because I think the Institute for Justice probably says it a lot better than I can. Life on the farm, life on the farm conjures images of wide open spaces, grazing animals, and lemonade on the front porch. That is, unless you're in the town of Eagle, Wisconsin, where life on the farm means endless property inspections and abusive code enforcement. Sound familiar? We're the country way of life here in Richfield. I have over 100 animal at large tickets. The town of Eagle, which is separate from the village of Eagle, is a small municipality where most of the 3,500 residents live on multi-acre tracts of land, has weaponized its code enforcement to punish local residents and to produce a profit. With the help of the Municipal Law and Litigation Group, a private law firm that is paid by the hour to prosecute code violations, the town uses its codes to retaliate against citizens who speak out against town officials. To fine citizens tens of thousands of dollars for minor violations and to pass the attorney's fees on to unwitting citizens. The law firm has even threatened citizens with jail time if they can't pay up. Sound familiar? Sounds like a little abuse of power there. Gross. The town subverts basic constitutional rights, devastating the residents unfortunate enough to be caught in the town's crosshairs. But the law is clear. Governments may not infect their enforcement systems with perverse financial incentives. Prosecutors must serve the interests of justice, not the interests of their pocketbooks. Nor may towns retaliate against their citizens for engaging in constitutionally protected activities such as criticizing local government. If a code is worth enforcing, it must be enforced uniformly without bias and to protect public health and safety. And governments may only impose fines for a code violation that are reasonable and proportionate to the violation. So if my chicken crosses the road, guys, $515. That's like double a speeding ticket when I can prove baiting and okay. The town's officials have been skirting those constitutional requirements for far too long, but they can't evade the law any longer. The Institute for Justice teamed up with Erica and Zach Mallory and Annalise and Joseph Victor and filed challenges in Wisconsin State Court to hold the town board, and the Municipal Law and Litigation Group accountable for their unconstitutional code enforcement practices. Whew, in August of 2022, the victors settled with the town and dismissed their case. In January of 2024, the Mallorys and the town were able to reach a productive settlement that resolved the legal issues in the case while protecting the rights of every property owner in the town. As part of the agreements, the Mallorys did not face any fines or fees for the original alleged ordinance violations. There it is. The Institute for Justice represented these folks and stood up to Municipal Law and Litigation Group. In another episode, we'll get into a deep dive into that case, but I just kind of wanted to touch the surface tonight and explain to you who John Macy and our municipal attorney is. It's my opinion that he has something to do with Payne and Dolan. I don't know. I don't know that for a fact, but in my research, I got a little curious about why he came here when Payne and Dolan bought that site for Timberstone. It was around the same time, so I started looking at all these different municipalities they're advertising to, I'm sure, show their credibility. But I mean, in my mind, I'm like, well, how many of them does Payne and Dolan have a quarry in? Right? That was my first question. And the road builders are at one time, I don't know if they still are, but they're the largest campaign contributors of both political parties. John Macy was the president of the Republican Party in Waukesha, which is fine. I'm not here to preach politics to you. I vote for Republican candidates. I'm not a Republican. I'm a libertarian. But he's definitely not showing a long history of wanting to protect the rights of the people. John Macy's out to protect John Macy. Just my case alone, his firm, Municipal Law and Litigation, made over $800,000, and that's from tax dollars. That's from Richfield tax dollars going to this man and his law firm. And when they couldn't win in court, they went after me in other ways. We went through last night how they tried to set me up to take contaminated loads, and it didn't work. I did leave out the part where, we did talk about how, one of the neighbors followed trucks to the site, and I didn't get into that, but I think we know who those residents were, and I think it's the former mayor of Delafield, but, we'll do a deep dive into that too, and I'm pretty sure I'll find the emails where it states their names. So tonight, uh, let I this one's gonna be a little rough, but we're gonna I say that almost every night. Well, it's all rough. It's all rough, guys. It's all hard. For me, maybe not for you, but maybe once you hear this stuff, you'll be just as outraged as I am. Maybe you two will start to see that it's the spin, right, Paul Craig? It's the village of Richfield spin, and it was to attack me, financially destroy me, and run my business and me out of town. Disgusting. Okay, now I gotta figure out how to share the other one. Here we go. This one. Okay, here we go. So this was during the Payne and Dolan um, restoration of that pit when it was being redeveloped. It starts off with someone named Scott Batchelor. It says, "Hi, Toby. I was offered 8,000 cubic yards of clean topsoil for free today from a very reliable source. They want to start dumping on Monday. I told them they could, but I need to notify you so that if people saw trucks going in and out on Monday, they wouldn't freak out. The material was going to get dumped onto a farmer's field, but due to the weather, they cannot access the field. It would be silly to pass it up or dump it on our current property versus in the pit. So I told them to dump it just east of I don't even know what that says, something huts. Maybe people in Timberstone know what that is. Please let me know if you have an issue with this. It should make great cover material for the restoration of the pit. The material is tested by Ayers and Associates, and I will get a copy of their information to you for your records." Okay. I'm gonna I don't want to bore you guys with every single. Here we go. So this is from a hydrogeologist, I believe. Okay. When we spoke, this is from a hydrogeologist, I believe. Um, they're talking about this was actually dredging material. It wasn't really topsoil. Okay. And it says here the hydrogeologist is basically explaining to them what this material was. And it says right here the alleged topsoil turned out to be dredge spoil from the Village Park Lagoon in Brown Deer, Wisconsin, which is a very different material altogether. Upon learning that dredge spoil rather than topsoil had been delivered to the Jacqueline site, Payne and Dolan required that this material be removed. When the dredge spoil was removed uh, from the Jacqueline pit, it was over excavated. The Jacqueline pit, by the way, is the abandoned quarry where Timberstone is. It was over excavated. For example, additional material was also moved to remove substances that may have been leached from the dredge spoils. In my opinion, a very responsible action by Payne and Dolan, which it was. Okay, so it talks about what happens to the spoils. They conducted a preliminary assessment of the soil and groundwater at the Jacqueline pit. Ayers and Associates analyzed the dredge spoil and found that lead and arsenic concentrations existed that slightly exceeded their respective NR 720 Wisconsin Administrative Code non-industrial residual contaminant levels. It would be premature and somewhat irresponsible to speculate on the results of the ongoing investigations and evaluations being conducted at the Jacqueline gravel pit. At the same time, it would also be premature and somewhat irresponsible to flatly state that there are no soil and or groundwater problems at the Jacqueline pit. The dredge spoils originally stored at the Jacqueline gravel pit now reside in the Wissota pit, also in the town of Richfield. The Wissota Pit, guys, that's where I am, but it's not my side of the pit. It's the east side of the pit. So these spoils that were supposed to go into a farm field where, from my understanding of talking to the experts at the DNR and other people, hydrogeologists, hydrologists, is that that kind of material, when put in a farm field, it can actually filter. So they took it from that operation and they stuck it at the bottom of an excavated quarry next to the Bark River. I mean, are you kidding me? They're trying to catch me taking dirty loads that they set up. Somebody set up. Let's keep going. There's so much here, guys. And I'm happy to send this to anybody who reaches out to me. I'm happy to send you all of it. So here's the permit that was acquired 2 months after the dredging material was dumped in the abandoned quarry across the street from mine. That was part of the same operation, but is owned by somebody else. Um, Guys, clean fill doesn't need a permit. Low hazardous waste needs a permit. This type of fill needed permit. And although Payne and Dolan did the right thing at the Jacqueline pit site, they claim they don't know where the trucking company took it, and fair enough, maybe they didn't. But they know now. The village president knows now, and he's willing to stand up in front of the community and say, "If I take even one bad load, that it'll be millions on the taxpayers' backs for sewer and water." Well, how is this okay? I'm just kind of I don't have the energy to go through each and every single thing. I'm trying to keep these as short as possible too. You know what, Paul Craig? I think this is very concerning. Paul Craig, this is concerning. Lots of stuff here. It was one I was looking for though. Gotcha. Okay. Well, there's just a lot to go through. But the facts are the facts. John Macy is our village attorney. The firm he belongs to and works in partner in is Municipal Law and Litigation. And I've said it before in previous episodes, litigation's in their name. What business do they have perpetually having who benefits from them getting involved in these lawsuits? It's not the taxpayers, it's not the citizens. I don't believe it's their local government either. John Macy and the Municipal Law and Litigation Group benefits. They benefit. And it's not okay. They're in too many of our communities. How many people's constitutional rights are being violated? Because this strategy works for a lot of people. A lot of people will just hang up their hat and walk away. They don't want the problems. But once in a while, you get an Erica Brewer. Once in a while, you get a me. And we need more of us that this has happened to come together and stop this nonsense. We have enough infighting in our country and in our communities. Whatever happened to bringing our communities together? The laws exist for a reason, and it's too easy to point the finger at me and say, "Look at she doesn't follow the rules with her animals." That's easy. It makes me look bad. Look at CCAP. Go ahead. I invite you. Go to CCAP. That's if you're not from Wisconsin. That is our court system, and you could see how many tickets I've been issued. All it does is prove what I'm saying. I look like a criminal. I've never been arrested in my life. Despite the narrative that the village of Richfield had sold to the community that I'm some sort of crazy violent person. I mean, if I had a penny for every time I heard, "Oh, we fear for our personal safety." One night I went in and I criticized the board after a board meeting, and they literally, followed me to the door and locked it. Like, they were afraid. I'm like, "What? Like, what? I'm not gonna do anything. This is weird. I'm upset. I'm telling you that I'm upset with you. What you're doing is wrong, and it's not okay." The other day I got upset. I told them, because they won't shoulder the road, and I called Jim Healy, and I said, "This is outrageous. By 3 o'clock today, I'm gonna be at the village hall picketing because until you shoulder my road." Well, I actually, even though I really meant it when I said it, I didn't, you know, I found out later that the village closed early that day. Are you afraid of my First Amendment right? Jim, I threatened to come and exercise my First Amendment right by picketing. Hardly dangerous, hardly something to be afraid of. But that's for another episode, and that's gonna be the theme of our next episode, is they fear for their personal safety? And we're gonna go through all these silly, goofy rumors. Maybe I'll do a little, maybe I'll do little video clips of people in the community about their favorite scenic pit Dana Zulik rumor. There's so many goofy ones. So, but we're gonna keep it a little more lighthearted tomorrow. We're gonna go through and we're gonna do that. We're gonna talk about what the most ridiculous rumors are about scenic pit and me. I think it'll be fun. We definitely have to have a guest. Do you think we should bring my mom on for that? Everybody seems I got really good feedback about my mom. Everybody's like, "Your mom's so cool. Your mom's fun." Like, and she is. She's great. Love you, mom. Well, I didn't go on too many soapboxes tonight. I hope I explained it well enough. I didn't want to get too geeky and nerdy about it. I just wanted to kind of put the basics out there about who John Macy is, who John Jeffords is. And remember, guys, these are my opinions based on my research and how I interpret things that I read. Trying my best not to be the hammer that only sees a nail. Doing my best to use critical thinking. But it doesn't matter what position you have on the when you read this stuff. The facts are simple. I'm not the only one having issues with the Municipal Law and Litigation Group. I'm not the only one having problems with John Macy. He's getting rich off of tax dollars. It's unacceptable, it's un-American, and it's gross, and he should be ashamed of himself, and I'm allowed to say that, and it's my opinion, and you can't take that away from me, or anyone else, or Erica Brewer, or anybody else that, wants to speak out when what their local government is doing to them is wrong, because apathy kills. I've shared before that when we would leave our base on a convoy in Iraq, my buddies from the army can remember, it always said complacency kills. because complacency does kill, and complacency is just like apathy. If our country falls, it's because we allowed it to. It's because of the people we're allowing to control our government. It's the people at right here in our backyard, in our hometowns. They're working their cronies. They're helping their crony developer buddies benefit. But if you're a little old person, just like our founders said, it's the American dream. I had every right to do what I was doing. And the only one that has caused it to take longer, cost more money, cause more hurdles, cause more issues is the village of Richfield and all of their games and their shenanigans and their intimidating practices. Can you imagine how much better the scenic pit would have been ran from the beginning? I can only do the best I can with what I have, and I do, and I've had to give myself credit for that. There are times that I folded to the pressure, and it was a lot of pressure. A lot of people want me to fail. But now I have this outlet. I can share my story. I can share the facts. I can share the truth. And my hope is that at some point, I hope we're not too far gone in our country. I hope that we as citizens, as people in our community, we can start to get along, work together, agree to disagree, respect the fact that we have different opinions, and not step on each other's constitutional rights. So, thank you for joining me tonight. Less than an hour, which I think is more digestible than over an hour. And thank you so much for joining me. I'm I forgot to share my drink of the day. I'm having a monster, and I just had to show you because look how pretty the can is. So pretty. You enjoy your Friday night, and please subscribe, like, and share with all of your friends. And let's get the word out. Thank you for joining me on Local Wars. I love each and every single one of you, whether you believe me or not.